Do I need this?
Okay, I think we're live. I think we are. I don't know. This is not my area, but I'm going to do my best to figure out how to make it work. Um, and this would be the weirdest version of Project Game Day in the history of Project Game Day, because not only are we not talking about a game, we're not talking about a signing, we're talking about the opposite of that. As you know by now, the Ravens deal to acquire Maxx Crosby is done, blown up. It ain't happening. The Raiders put out a statement earlier tonight saying it ain't happening. Diana Rossini followed up with the explanation that we all knew had to be the explanation, which is that Maxx Crosby failed his physical. And it's a bummer because you thought you had Maxx Crosby. It is a catastrophe because of the timing of when all of this happens and the fact that here we are a couple of days into free agency and most everyone is off the table and you don't have Maxx Crosby. Ken Zalis, I'll turn to you first. Your reaction to the news.
Uh, t- I mean, I was
I regret returning to Ken
advocating
first.
that they signed him.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Can you
Ken,
not hear me?
yeah, you were chopping up. I don't know where you are, but you look like you're
Oh,
reporting
oh, I'm
live from the
sorry.
woods. Ken looks like he's at the
Well,
Blair Witch Project currently. I
I'm,
don't
I'm,
know.
I'm actually
We're living in a
so,
Blair Witch
so.
place right now, so I get it.
Well, what I said was, I guess I'm as stunned as I was when they announced that they signed him for giving up two first round picks. You said it right. This sucks because of this tampering, legal tampering time, and all the anything you really wanted to do, um, you can't really do now. You know, Trey Hendrickson's still out there. I guess that's a possibility, um, but that's a different kettle of fish and probably going to cost you more money than Maxx Crosby was going to. So it's just really unfortunate, and I hate to be that guy, but do these things happen in other places besides Baltimore with failed physicals? I just maybe I just have I'm just gun shy because it happens seemingly more often here than anywhere else, and it sucks. It's been a rough couple of days. A lot of fan favorites and have left. Another one left today, in Patrick Ricard, and then you get the news right on top of it that Maxx Crosby is not going to be a Baltimore Raven because of a failed physical. It just sucks. It just totally sucks right now.
Rita?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it really does. And with everything that y'all are saying, Hendrickson obviously is a possibility, but we'll see how that goes, right? If you're saying Buffalo was in the mix, then maybe Hendrickson probably feels like he can get some revenge from his Bengals and play them twice a year. That may work in his favor, but ultimately the Ravens are behind. Um, and so you hope that that's what they do, or maybe they just find someone else in another trade. I know that Jalen Carter, he a little head case. I don't know how I feel about that, but I know that teams have asked about Jalen Carter. So you can kind of see how that goes. Or if you're the Ravens and you really like a guy in this draft, you were already going to get rid of a first round draft pick anyway. Figure out maybe how to move up to get somebody that you think that you might really like. So it just sucks because they're already a step behind. And I just want to put out there, like, there's a whole lot of people that's like, well, they should have had a plan B. Do you know how salary cap works, or do you just say things for fun, for
Yeah.
shits and giggles? Because at the end of the day, if you think that you have Maxx Crosby, you don't think that you need to do anything else. And furthermore, that cap that he was going to be bringing with him was going to affect what the Ravens could do. There was no plan B. There could be no plan B. Okay. So please stop. All right. Don't be silly. Don't be dumb. And think about things before you put them on the internet, because the internet is forever, forever. Whether or not you delete them, people screenshot people, and don't be stupid in this time. They had no plan B. Max Crosby was the plan until it wasn't. And so
Facts.
now that's the problem.
Andrew Stecca.
Well, and not to mention the Raiders now have to have a plan B too,
But
because
that's
they just
correct.
signed a butt ton of players and now have to fit Maxx Crosby back into the equation, or they have to find another trade partner. And I think that's kind of the part that I want to actually double click on at first, because the Raiders put out this statement saying the Ravens backed out of a deal, which is just categorically untrue. The deal was not completed until the physical was completed. And I'm not one to like stand up for the teams in these situations, but look, these teams are investing tens of millions of dollars on these players. You have to make sure that they're healthy. And if a team is not willing to believe that, or has a stricter physical or whatever the case may be, that's their prerogative. They can be proven wrong on that down the road, and maybe they will be, maybe they won't be. That's their decision in this moment. I do think that this really, really hurts the Ravens because of everything you guys have said, because of the timing of it, because of just where they are in free agency, and they do need to like kind of get moving now. But this is just an unfortunate thing more than anything else. Like, I don't think anyone is to blame for it. I don't think there's any maliciousness out there. I mean, the Ravens had no incentive to back out of this trade. Like, they wanted to make this trade happen. This was not a back out. So that's the part that really stood out to me at first. The shock of it as well. But I mean, overall, this really just, to me, I'm like thinking the Hendrickson thing almost has to happen, because if it doesn't,
Yeah.
where do you go building this roster
It,
out?
it really does become very like, and I don't know, there might be something that they don't like. It's ironic that we're all saying Trey Hendrickson or bust. Like, Trey Hendrickson literally didn't just, miss half the season last year because he was hurt, right? Like, and
Turns out football's a violent game.
yeah, it is crazy how that works. And it is interesting. Like, I don't know that we'll ever fully know the details of what made them fail Max Crosby physical. Andrew, what you point out, like, we can get lost in the wording because legally speaking, you could also still say they backed out. Like, we had an agreement, they backed out of the agreement, but we can still justify why it is they did. And Rita and
Right.
I, ironically, were literally taping Glenn and Rita and Glenn tonight as this news broke, and like our jaws were just on the effing ground.
Good. I can't wait to watch that.
Because it is, as after we had done like 20 minutes of breakdown
No,
of Max
Andrew, it was not fun. We had a whole lineup of fun things to talk about. We
Yeah.
couldn't even enjoy it. Okay.
Yep.
Max Crosby, you will pay for your crimes. You are going to get my bill. I'm going to send you my therapist bill, because I was enjoying my evening, having a nice Tuesday. It was 75 degrees outside. I spent my 75-degree day talking about sports, talking about the Max Crosby deal, only for it to not exist. You owe me. Pay me what you owe. Okay, my 75-degree day is gone because of you, and my mood has changed because of you, Max Crosby. I want you to pay for what you did to the Flock Nation.
I want reparations.
I want reparations.
I want reparations. But yes, I am in agreement that if Max Crosby, you don't trade. It's funny because Reed and I really did have like an in-depth conversation about, like, I'm on board. I think it was good to do it, but I don't want to be dismissive of how much 2 first-round picks is. That's a real price to me. And so if there's any legitimate concern, I understand why the Ravens are backing out of 2 first-round picks, because 2 first-round picks is an amazing price to pay that I was willing to do because it was Max Crosby. So yes, I'm not really clowning the Ravens for the fact that the physical failed. I get where Ken's feeling. We're like, God, what? How does this? There's 2 teams in this city, and it feels like it's happened 700 times. Like, it's just unreal how many times it feels like it's occurred. But none of them were Max Crosby. Like, to be fair, this is the first time it's this. The Trey Hendrickson or bust feeling is very real in this moment. A lot of the reporting today suggested that Trey Hendrickson was going to wait till tomorrow to make a decision, and maybe by dumb luck that allows you time to get your ducks in a row. I'm not sure. Some of the reporting had suggested that Trey Hendrickson's camp had like overplayed their hand, that the market wasn't there for Trey Hendrickson the way that they thought it was. Um, I am. You decided that you needed a singular edge rusher and that it was worth risking a lot in order to get that player. Maxx Crosby is a better football player than Trey Hendrickson is. Maxx Crosby isn't just an edge rusher. Trey Hendrickson's just an edge rusher. Um, but yeah, it very much feels like if you don't, I do not know what the answer is. I mean, Rita's point, like, could it be that you try to load up and go get Ruben Bain in the draft? Like, maybe that's your pivot at some point because
And then there's a part of that there are some people out here in terms of like Ruben Bain. We've heard a lot about his arm
yep.
length, and from the combine, they don't really love like
Hmm.
that part of it. Like, I like Ruben Bain, but I also, I don't. I'm really not sure how that translates to the
He ain't
NFL.
Maxx Crosby. He's definitely not Maxx Crosby, and it might actually cost you more to have to move up. Maybe not for Ruben Bain. Like if you wanted to get Arvell Reese, you would have to pay more than you had to pay for Maxx Crosby. And as far as
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with all that, and that's and they could go up and they could put a package together and move up, but there's nobody they're getting in this first round. That's Maxx Crosby, a
right,
healthy Maxx Crosby.
right,
So your point on Hendrickson is a good one. Like Maxx Crosby's a better all-around football player. Whether he's a better pass rusher than Trey Hendrickson, smarter people than me can debate that. But you have to you have to do something, and you said you're willing to go all in to fix a problem that's been a big problem for a while, and now you still have that problem, and that's the biggest thing. Like the overjoy that they finally addressed a problem in a real way that felt tangible and felt like it was fixed. And you didn't care all the other people that were running out the door, once you had Maxx Crosby under
yep.
the Ravens camp, because you're like, yeah, it would have been nice to have those guys, but I'll take Maxx Crosby over all those guys that have left because I think he makes everybody on the defense better instantaneously. And now it's this nothingness that we're in right now that we don't have anything.
Hello,
All the
darkness, my old
and
friend.
yeah, and it's like none of those people were Maxx Crosby with a failed physical, but I mean, it just feels like both of our teams. It happened so much. It's just you have PTSD about
That part of it, the part where like you thought you had Maxx Crosby, right? Like you really like it. That's the thing that we've talked about literally every 4 months for the last 3 years. You thought you had it, and now it's gone.
The
And
thing we
you're
celebrated on Friday night when it
correct,
happened. You were all like, "Oh,
correct.
I know
we
I
Yes.
did.
finally what did I call it? I called it a checked box. Like
Yep.
it was a box that was checked, and now that box is no longer checked. And to me, the thing that I just immediately started thinking about in this is because of the position that this team is now in, and especially with the fact that they don't yet have the quarterback's contract done, which is still the biggest cloud hanging over everything. To me, it almost feels like, and I know, look, I don't know, I'm not a draft guy. I don't follow the draft very much. You guys would have way more knowledge on this, but everything I've heard about this draft is that it is a deep, very good, deep draft. And you've got the first round pick back, and you can do some things there. But to me, even with all of that, it still feels almost like next season is going to be one of those R words. That reload word is going to be used on next season, and then the following two are going to be the ones where that window is open. I don't know how you could build this roster out. I know you can hit an absolute couple of home runs in the draft, but relying on that to have to happen feels really precarious to me.
I apologize. I'm not good at the leading zooms. That's normally Griffin's area, so I can't screen share it. But I'm going to read this because Tom Pelissero tweeted out the following. Tom Pelissero tweeted out, other NFL GMs have a lot of questions after the Ravens backed out of the Maxx Crosby trade because of what they told the Raiders were medical concerns. Then he retweeted, because apparently it was a video of something that they were talking about on NFL Network, and retweeted it and said, one GM summarized the feelings around the league. Quote, this is very much bullshit on Baltimore's part, unquote. Oh, thank you, Andrew Stecca. Andrew Stecca has figured out how to screen share. Um, I,
Well, that's not good.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not good. I don't know how to read into that, and I haven't spent any time texting anybody because this felt very cut and dry to me, right? Um, One of the things, and this is ironic, and I brought it up a couple times. KZ, you just referenced how much this. The only issue I ever had with the Orioles and the physical, where there were times that it definitely felt like they were using it to negotiate, that they were still happy to have the player, but they were then going to turn around and try to have that player at a different price. Um, and I I think it's plausible. I'm speculating that that was part of this process. That the Ravens saw whatever they saw on their on Maxx Crosby's physical and turned around and said to the Raiders, "All right, we'll still do this, but we want to do it for a second and a fifth or something like that." And that becomes tricky. Now, if the Ravens don't do it, if this is just this GM saying, "Oh man, I feel terrible for the Raiders because now they're F, there's no way they can turn around and get the two first from the Bears they could have gotten," then dude, F off. Like, the player's hurt. Like that's the end of it. Like that's just the end of it. But there could be gray area between these two things as to what happened in the fallout. It would be amazing to me that the Ravens would go to this length, and if they weren't certain that Maxx Crosby had a serious, like, career altering type of issue, that they would then back out of it. That blows my mind, but that is a hell of a response that this is, quote, "this is very much bullshit on Baltimore's part."
I don't understand the incentive that the Ravens would have to back out of this deal other than a serious injury concern that they found in the physical. Like, tell me the other reason that they would have to renege on this.
Yeah, like
I don't get it.
what is considered bullshit here? Like it's Maxx
Right.
Crosby, right? Something to me just seems really wrong. Or that again they tried to go back and say two firsts is too much for this injury. Can we rework this deal? And the Raiders was like, "No, Chief," and they was like, "Well, yeah, have them back, shorty."
Look, I brought this up earlier when Reeta and I were doing the show. There was some opinion around the league that the Ravens played some dirty pool with the Ryan Grant thing a few years ago. That I said it was
Yeah,
crap.
Ryan Grant ain't Maxx Crosby.
Of course not Maxx Crosby. But it did. There were people that around the league that I know had opinions about that. That the Ravens said that they Ryan Grant failed a physical, but what they really did was find an opportunity to sign Michael Crabtree because Michael Crabtree became available. And those opinions existed around the league. And it's possible that there's someone like this is where people put the tinfoil hat on. If the Ravens sign Trey Hendrickson tomorrow, someone around the league might say, "Huh, that's weird. I wonder if they found out what the price was for Trey Hendrickson and suddenly didn't like Maxx Crosby's physical all that much." Now, I have no reason to think that that's true. I don't think that the Ravens suddenly decided that they could get a better price on a player, and so they wanted to screw around on a trade. But it's a hell of a thing to say. I mean, it's a hell of a thing to say. I I'm not sure what to make of it yet. I'm just not sure. I'm to understand. Someone's telling me that in this clip, the opinion from other GMs is that what the doctor sees is subjective, and there can be shenanigans involved. I just don't know why there would be Why would you not want to do the Maxx Crosby trade?
Correct. That's my thing. It's like, this is not Ryan Grant. This is not Brockers. This is not any of those people. This is Maxx Crosby. So my thing is that there really must be something there that they just did not feel was worth the value, or that the Raiders hid from them and then was like, "Yeah, you knew this coming all along, and we don't think that two firsts is sufficient at this point."
Mm-hmm.
So I hear y'all, I get it, but like the other examples that we've seen when they've done this were never of the caliber of this dude. Never. This is a game-changing guy on your defensive front. So and Glenn and I talked about this on the podcast. I'd like to think too that that, he's been here since what, Sunday? So they've probably been trying to work to see if he can get this physical pass, and he just wasn't able to do it. So I just don't see, I don't like, I'm with Andrew, I'm with all of y'all. I don't see the benefit of them turning around on this trade. If it's just something minor, okay, is he going to be ready by training camp, whatever? But I'm just curious to see what it is eventually.
But this is some nasty business by the Raiders saying it this way. Like this has
I agree.
this has caused something now that's gonna stir. This is gonna stir some. This is gonna stir the pot.
Yeah, we talked about earlier. Like they're pissed off because
they can't
they're screwed. They
right.
spent this money and now they can't. They either have to trade Crosby to someone else who passes his physical, or they can't sign all the people that they.
So I actually did just see a post that they would be able to fit him under the cap apparently somehow. I don't know if that's
at least for now, right?
For now,
you only have to be under the cap,
right?
But
it's not something that has to happen in the next,
correct
20 hours.
They then would need to create more money in order to sign their draft class, in order to sign their street free agents. Like they just need to get them under the cap right now, and so they probably can do that. Look, the timing, the timing really is. This would suck 10 days ago, but the timing is unbelievable. I mean, like unbelievable on the ramifications for all parties involved. Now, to the point, if the Raiders are pissed, but this is legit, and the Bears would have done the same thing, then again, I don't know what they're mad about. If what they're mad about is that they think there is something nefarious going on, and again, we're saying that doesn't make sense. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's no reason for the Ravens to do this to themselves, for it to be nefarious. They're screwing themselves in the process. Like, that's the part that, like, to accuse the Ravens of something nefarious involves you having to ignore how badly they're hurt by this, too. And again, if they sign Trey Hendrickson, there will be someone who will be skeptical about that and will say, that's weird. But this is not good for the Ravens. And that's why the nefarious part of it seems just very off-putting or bizarre to me entirely. I don't know. I don't know what'll come from that. Anything else? Anybody else have any other thoughts?
I'm just reading a lot of the speculation, and it's all very much turning kind of about what the Pelissero report is saying, and everyone's kind of this is weird. It's a weird story, and I think it's gonna require like the now they tell us type of story once it all comes out.
Ian Rappaport pointed out that apparently Maxx Crosby needed a full meniscus repair at the end of the season. But again, like that was out there. The Ravens would have known that when they made the trade. Like that, it can't be that. So I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. This is going to be stupefying for a bit. And
yeah, and once again, I just want an off season where I have peace, and I just feel like I don't get peace anymore.
That's a fair point.
Every off season is something. Ravens are always in the news. I don't have peace. Listen, I'm tired. It feels like the Cowboys. I feel like a Cowboys fan, dog. Like the Ravens are always in a conversation, good, bad, and different. Always in a conversation. I'm tired. I just want peace. I don't know who do I talk to about this. I just want peace.
This is from Mike Silver of The Athletic, or is he still with The Athletic? I think he is. Bottom line, this absolutely could be a case of the Ravens being scared away by the state of Crosby's knee. It could also be buyer's remorse with the failed physical as an excuse. And other teams might view those same results differently and decide to take the risk. I just keep coming back to buyer's remorse makes no sense.
Somebody's going to take the risk, period.
Maybe, right. It might very well be. I think that part of it is fair. It's very fair to say that two teams could both look at the same physical and one could say, I'm willing to take this risk and another couldn't. But the buyer's remorse part makes no sense unless the buyer's remorse is driven directly by the physical. Like, it's insane to think that a team that has lost everything that it's lost out on and that will market this thin would suddenly say, oh, gee, gosh, golly, we really didn't mean to trade 2 first-round picks. That was a mistake. We just had a little bit too much to drink on Friday night and we got a little antsy in our pants. So now let's come up with an excuse for it. That's absurd. It's absurd to suggest that. 15 to 20 days ago, when there weren't all the players were still on the market, it would still be crazy, but at least it's patently absurd to think that a team that is in this much of a bind because of this would suddenly make a decision like this simply based around buyer's remorse. You might differ about what you saw on the physical. It might very well be that, again, the Chicago Bears could look at the same physical and say, yeah, I mean, that's concerning, but we think he'll be able to play this year and next year, and so we'll go ahead and do it. But throwing in buyer's remorse,
and let's consider what happened last week before this was announced. The club met and the owner was there and all the hierarchy did their little meeting to wrap things up, and then this trade was announced.
Right.
Like the timeline of these things. So who exactly is having the buyer's remorse if that's the case? Is it the GM? Is it the owner? Is it a combination of the two? Is one now disagreeing with the other that this should be happening? Like, I'm really curious as to the behind the scenes of how all this worked in their mind, because I agree. If you've agreed to make this deal, why not just go through with it? But if there's that risk there, that's the only thing I can point to. If it's something other than that, or if this is just the ginned up excuse for some kind of buyer's remorse.
The only thing that would be plausible, and is if somehow the Ravens found out yesterday, Trey Hendrickson's agent called and said, are you sure you want to do that Crosby deal? Here's the number where you can have Trey Hendrickson and you don't have to give up 2 first-round picks, right? If that exists in some world and GMs know that exists, then I could see why they would be pissed, right? Like, I could see that. But
that's really shady.
It's incredibly shady, and it's so shady that without having any knowledge of it, like, I can't even consider it. But I also know that was a popular opinion around the league about how the Ravens handled that. And again, I know Ryan Grant's not Maxx Crosby, but it is a very popular opinion around the league that the Ravens purposely backed out of the Ryan Grant thing in order to get Michael Crabtree, and that reputation stays with them. And so it might just be that somebody around the league thinking on that is saying, oh, here's the Ravens again. They're always doing stuff like that. And that it just alone doesn't make sense. That said, I hope they'll go get Trey Hendrickson, and I hope they get him at a cheap deal. I hope that
because they know that they like about to fleece them. Please.
Right.
I have two really drastic questions that are
okay.
Number one, is this going to lead the NFL to change the legal tampering crap?
Well, that's always been absurd.
Well, I mean, are they going to actually do something about it
the answer's no.
Okay. The other question, and this is the more. Does this somehow lead back to DaCosta, and that'll be it, and the change will just continue?
So here's, I think Jordan Schultz just tweeted out an hour ago. I missed this. Text from a GM, quote, Baltimore is going to sign Trey Hendrickson, watch, unquote.
Well, I'm already seeing that reporting in other circles that's pretty much getting done already. Where I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the chatter on the internet about, they're just going to sign Trey Hendrickson now.
Well, and again, it could be a natural pivot, but that's what the GMs are going to start saying. If there's any hint that they were playing funny business because they got a better deal for Trey Hendrickson where they didn't have to give up 2 first-round picks, that it hurts them badly. I mean, it hurts.
That's what I'm saying. Does that come down on the GM?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe around the league.
Let me tell you this.
I think it'll never come back. It'll never come back to the GM because the owner will cover him.
Well,
the owner will say.
I can't say that anymore, man.
I don't say that. I won't say that anymore, KZ. I don't. We heard him talk. I don't think he's about that anymore. And that's what I was just getting ready to say. I was going to say. Let me say this. After hearing Stevie B talk. Okay, and what he said in that presser, he not playing around with y'all no more. So Eric DaCosta has to have a very good reason why this trade is not going to work, in my opinion, because Stevie B done showed y'all. I fire anybody, friends, family. It doesn't matter who they are. If I don't like what they're doing, they gotta go. And I think that means DaCosta is not exempt from that either.
And he also
No,
showed that he
that's
also
not
showed
what
that
I
he would
meant.
he also showed though that he would give up 2 first-round picks for one player. Like that's
Exactly.
also something he's never done before. I'm in a world where Bisciotti could do anything.
Well, he can, and that's understand what I'm saying. I wasn't saying he was going to cover for him as far as like
Yes.
if
And
this
he
is a
was
massive
able to do
screw up. I felt like he would
so.
come out if the Hendrickson thing comes to fruition in the next 48 hours, and the league is saying, "Oh, this is just dirty." The owner can get out in front of it and just say, "Hey, I saw the medical reports. I wasn't comfortable with it. I had our team pull out of it." That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he won't fire DaCosta if
Yeah.
this is on egg on his face. I'm just saying that he would provide cover for his GM in this situation if they were doing what we're all talking about them doing.
I want to respond to this because a couple people brought it up in the comments real quick. This was from William. I wonder if Crosby's comments about being a Raider for life, bleeding silver and black, wanting to retire as a Raider had anything to do with it, especially if he wasn't going to be 100%. I don't believe it for a second.
He also said the Raiders
Yes,
gonna get everything out of me.
correct.
He said all of that too. Like we can't
Yes, there was
ignore
nothing, and he was
that.
in Baltimore, and this was not like I think you're trying to make it seem like he was acting like he was Terrell Owens. Like we all remember Terrell Owens when he got traded to the Ravens, he had no interest in going to the Ravens. None, zero. And he made that abundantly clear very quickly. That is not what Maxx Crosby did. Maxx Crosby has great respect and appreciation for the Raiders because he had to go to rehab and was a 4th-round pick and a guy that was promised nothing, and the Raiders stuck by him. And that's probably going to gain a great amount of love and appreciation that you stuck by me at my lowest moment, and I have no problem with the fact that he said any of that. That's not what makes you back out of a deal. It doesn't make you back out of a deal because Maxx Crosby said, "I'm always going to love the Raiders and they'll always be a piece." That is not how this happens. There's lots of ways that it could. It's really, to me, not lots of ways, but there's a few ways that it could, and that's definitely not one of them. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Fun
I'm trying to
times, y'all. Fun times in the off season. Are we having fun yet?
Yeah, I'm having a great time.
Remember back during the season when we were craving for the off season?
Not me.
You weren't ready for the season to be over?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. My
That's-
nervous
yes,
system, and now my nervous system is back to being stressed out again.
That's
Thank
what
you,
I'm
Maxx
saying.
Crosby.
That's what I'm saying. We had enough of this crap during the season.
Man.
Tired.
Look, man, they signed Trey Hendrickson tomorrow. We can do another happy show. We can do another. And I don't like this is the part as a fan, I don't even really care at that point if it's dirty pool, right? Like I don't as a fan. Now, I don't think it's right, and I can say that I don't think it's right, but like as a fan, if you end up with a good option and 2 first-round picks, like I can say, hey man, if it works, this is how do people root for teams that cheat? Well, because they won, right? Like, did you feel good about the fact that your team was spying on other teams' practices? Did you feel good about the fact that your team was banging trash cans? I felt good about the fact that my team was winning. That's the way that it goes.
Yeah, but they got to actually go do that. And
That
that's the problem.
100% accurate, sir. 100%.
If they're gonna bang on the trash cans, they got to win the World Series.
Better go win a World Series, no doubt. Well, if the Ravens do indeed acquire Trey Hendrickson, we'll see you tomorrow. That's the way that it'll go. And in about 5 minutes, you'll be able to watch Reeta and I's live reaction to.
I regret looking at my phone.
Oh God, man! Like we were just having a day, and all of a sudden, Rita's like, All right. Appreciate you guys. I don't want to remind everybody I'm doing a charity bracket contest. I need you to get in. Half the winner, half the show your soft side. $20. Glenn Dash Clark on Venmo, Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal, Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. I'll start calling all of you out by name at some point. Get in so we don't have to do that. Love you guys. We'll talk to you when there's news.